Hello there. This is bigSHow, theGod. Thought I would do another podcast. I've had an interesting few weeks, so I thought I'd just share some of that and share some of the stuff I think about. And I don't know, just go from there really. I had an injury. Injuries are quite rare for me. In my life, I haven't had a lot. I've had like torn muscles here and there, and a hamstring or calf muscle, pulling it, playing basketball or squash or any particular sport. And that's where it is. It's kind of mostly muscular. So I've only really had torn muscles here and there, and not for any long stretch of time either. So that's interesting. But anyway, the other 3 or 4 weeks ago, my ankle swelled up. Man, that was pain. I hadn't had it, so it was really, really painful. So I couldn't sleep. Every rhythm I had was gone. From zero sleep to uncomfortable sleep to pain just walking and moving, that putting weight on and the energy it took to do that, just to go to the toilet or something like that, it was just painful. And then I'd be lying in bed and I'd have it elevated up and stuff, and it would just throb. And I'd be like, move it slightly. Oh, it's all right. And then move it up, move it up. So I didn't take any medication because I'm not a doctor, but I looked at it Dr. bigSHow style, and it was definitely something not based on breaks. So my logic goes, well, the tendons and the swelling, and it's just part of the process of, keep weight off it, do your basic stuff that you can learn, and ride it out. So I rode it out I was on my back for like 4 days. 4 days. No sleep, bits of sleep during the day, little bits of things. And then it got, at some point I could walk on it. I'd get a couple of hours sleep, then I'd wake up. Oh, it's a bit better. Okay. So I could hobble on it even better, get to that point. So that would keep me moving, keep me motivated. And then I'd be sore as again, Then I'd start having all these thoughts, all these probably negative thoughts, deprecating thoughts of, I probably won't be able to run again. I won't be able to walk again. Well, I knew I'd be able to walk. Wasn't being that, but I probably won't be able to run anymore. I won't be able to jump. I won't be able to do all those types of things. I quit. I went to that in this 4 or 5 day stretch. And then it turns out it wasn't true. And I managed to tell myself that's probably not true either. But I guess the observation and the self-awareness to say, I'm able to have those types of thoughts where I can take myself to misery or to never. Yet, even if that was true, what purpose does that serve? You know, I understand at some point I'm actually not going to be able to do some of the things I do now to the same degree. But what point does that have? So now what? You know, it makes no difference. When I can't do it, will be the time that I can't do it, right? But I really enjoyed the process of, apart from the pain. Pain I didn't enjoy at all, but the forcing the resilience in myself to a little bit of practice what I preach, in an extent where of the things that I would suggest to others, here is an opportunity for me to do it myself, right? And so even through the irritations and the pain and the self-deprecation I was starting to do to myself, it was momentary. I was able to function with a reasonable level. It wasn't perfect, but a reasonable level of positive of a positive attitude. Even from the swelling, like it was swollen up heaps, and I looked at the swelling, and I could even say, oh my God, you know. But as the swelling lessened and lessened, I'd compare it to my other foot and go, fuck, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's more than the swelling, because that's huge, you know. But not true. The swelling reduced over the time, and now it's exactly the same. It's the exact same as the other foot right now. There is zero difference. So the ligaments they've healed themselves to this point. But I guess without going on too much about that, was more the mind stuff. How I dealt with that week. How I dealt with the week after, and then the week later, because it was, okay, I was injured for. I diary all this stuff, so my diary is very detailed, and so I injured it 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, the ankle, and we went from bedridden to hobbling a bit more, to being able to walk without pain. So that was a 3 or 4 week was fuck all else I could do of that to that level. But even then, after the pain was gone, I was bedridden for a week. Here's the facts. I was bedridden for a week. Then I got out of bed, no pain. I had no pain on the Friday. I was walking on it on the 22nd. Here we go. So that's a full week injured. Bedridden for 4 or 5 of those days. Once I could walk on it, on the Sunday, I walked. On the Saturday. On the Saturday, I walked 7 Ks. And I remember that Saturday, because that Saturday when I walked on it, it was sore. It was okay. It wasn't pain, but it was, I got to it and there was some soreness there. So that's after that. And then the following day, I walked again another 7Ks. So I did 2 in a row. And then I started doing push-ups and things of all that nature in between. So I started adding that in. Because what was interesting too is the foot push-ups were impacting on it too. So I could kind of just stick with sit-ups and other bits of exercise. And even that was like a mental journey for myself of going, is that whole thing of not being able to do what I used to be able to do and being okay and doing what I can do versus getting caught up in what I used to be able to do. You know, I used to be able to dunk a basketball, right? I used to play a reasonable level, A grade sort of basketball when I was 20 odd. I stopped when I was about 37, I think it was. But I don't sit here now and start whinging about that I can't jump as high as I could then. I don't sit here with deep regret. I won't even play basketball. I'll go and play this afternoon if that's what I'm into. I know I can't do that, but I know what I can do, and I enjoy what I can do. I've actually have other skills as well, and I actually stretch and practice and thing, and I try and jump as high as I can jump. It ain't very high. Well, it ain't as high as I used to be able to jump. It's just part of it. And so in that sort of mode, it's the same thing for me now. Is that, yeah, I ran today. So I guess I'm a lot more upbeat too. Well, I say I'm a lot more upbeat. I'm just as upbeat as I was now. I was 2 weeks ago. When I was bedridden, I was not. I'll admit that. I was not as upbeat when through that pain, through that thing. And even for the 2 to 3 days until I was walking again, once I was walking and did that, and I did a 7 or 8 Ks walk, my upbeatness sort of flowed on. And I guess part of that is sort of suggesting why did the big shift happen? I don't know. I think there's still a level of for me of evidence to support what I think, and that could be that could be an issue for me. Is always needing so much evidence to support what I do or don't do. Interesting. Or then that leads into my emotions as well. So anyway, that's what I kind of wanted to start off with, was to sort of share that transition I went through. There was an event that was out of my control. And what I think I did as well through all that was used all the tools I have in my sort of bucket, which lead me to being resilient. I think I've got a reasonable handle in practicing resilience. So that the theory of this is that it won't matter what happens next. Events will happen. But this is the process I can go through that will not make it all right, but will enable me to deal with it proactively, with a high level of positivity, with valuing the disciplines and the actions that I follow most days, and the importance of continuing those. And so I've kind of framed it now in another way, because I've thought about that And I thought about my daily actions, and I'm reasonable, in my opinion, to how my day is structured from sleep. It starts there. I go to bed 99% of the time at 9:30. I wake up 90% of the time at 5 a.m. I exercise when I'm not injured every day or every morning. And then everything builds from that. That's a general starting structure. So I looked at that, and while I was in that kind of state, and then now here I am with this next level of energy, I then go, well, I just use the words 90%, right? So if that's valuable and the value is there, why isn't it 100%? Why is it 90? Why is it 90 if it benefits you, it adds value for you? Why is it 90% of the time? So I go, yeah, interesting. And then what was really interesting is I started kind of working with my son on a couple of things projects that we were looking at together. And it motivated me too in a cross-reference way to sort of start seeing that, well, this will work, but it's going to take some discipline. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take working through difficult conversations. It's going to take actions. It's going to take following through. It's going to take ownership, accountability, responsibility, all the stuff, right? Otherwise, it's just a talk. So in that act of starting to build that, I kind of gave myself some distance to kind of look at, well, what this framework should look like. If you're going to use ownership, accountability, responsibility, you're going to use discipline and consistency as kind of frameworks or fundamentals or value systems that contribute to what I am today, then why not? So I started that and went, well, that's cool. So there's no point pushing it there. I can push it into me here this afternoon. So now I frame it as what the title of this podcast was zero tolerance. See me, I seem to like having these and what's weird about me is I like them to be words that I think I've kind of thought up, because I hear quotes every day and I read a lot of quotes and I listen to a reasonable amount of podcasts regularly, and they have quotes in there and thing. I don't know whether it's my ego or something. I don't mind adopting the quotes and thinking it, but every now and then I like to think to some degree I've kind of come up with something that I hadn't heard. And it doesn't mean that someone else hasn't framed it this way. I just like it to have some type of like self from the self out. Internal from me was part of me internalizing. It's like I have a phrase with journey to greatness. Other people have said that, and it's not like a unique thing, but it really fits with my ego and with my way of thinking about progress and positivity and motivationally. It sort of it fits with the sentences that I seem to be okay to say every day. Because with discipline and consistency, if you're going to say it every day, you've got to really enjoy it. I would have thought, well, enjoy to some point of it. We're going to have a saying that turns me off. A little bit like, if I'm honest, Bible sayings turn me off. The words could actually have probably some value to them, but it turns me off, and I can't seem to shake it or change that. So when I come up with the words that sit with me that I can internalize and pull all the time, and I don't have a problem with pulling in a Bible phrase, but I will say it's a Bible phrase, or if I pull in a Einstein or some other Neil deGrasse Tyson sentence, I don't claim it as my own kind of thing, even though he's not, or I'm not, or it could be a 10th regurgitation of a saying from out of a book from the 1900s, whatever. So anyway, like I try to grab pieces of these little sayings, journey to greatness. I have CSI, constant self-improvement, because that ties in consistency, that ties in discipline, which journey to greatness has all that underlying to it, right? And then, so now along those sort of lines, from a daily disciplinary consistency kind of thing, is because I can always reflect on my day and go, I could have completed that. Oh man, why didn't you finish that? Why didn't you follow that through? Oh, it's okay. I'll do it tomorrow, or I can do it next week. You see, there's always that stuff in there, even though I'm grateful and I look at my day when I review, and there was lots of stuff I've done. Lots of stuff. I had this conversation, worked through that, went to that meeting, did that piece, ran that far, did weights, or whatever the mix of my pillars with relationships or with career or with all bundled in the day. I got it. But then I go, there's some gaps there. And most of us get the gaps. We're just in a mindset. We're just how my mind is framed. And I know from a journey to greatness and constant self-improvement, my mind starts having the emotional impacts needed to continue to do them, even when maybe the emotion level's not there, maybe the energy level's not quite there, maybe the mind's not quite there. They're enough to give me a lift as an individual to get up for that walk, or get up for that run, or get up for that next set of weights, or get up for that next meeting, to prepare me and to get me every day. And I feel brilliant when I do it. So that's where that's a lot of the background to where I would go zero tolerance. So what do I have zero tolerance to in my schedule? And I sort of started going, well, I've got, what if I use zero tolerance, and I have this for other things, whether it's framed that way or not. I choose not to drink alcohol. I've not drunken alcohol for, how old am I? Since I was 42, but almost 20 years. I have not had one drink of alcohol. Not one. And yet, when I was 27, 28, 29, all that stuff, alcohol was, I was a mess with that stuff. But in that process, back when I was 31, 32, it took a bit. And it ended up that 0 was the amount that worked. 0 worked. Not some alcohol, not a few, not, and this is just for me. I'm not saying I go out there preaching it. 0 for me worked. Whether I thought I was going to have 0, I don't think at the time I would not drink forever. I didn't. I remember recording it and going onto it because there was a lot around that, a lot of emotion, a lot of social consequences, you could call them, or social change from a personality perspective, from a habits, from a identity, all that sort of stuff that I didn't have to. I just worked through. And of all the things in that list that worked, 0 worked. 0. And I started feeding my ego after a while, because now I didn't see too many other people being able to say they got 0. Other people would do a couple of weeks off drinking and tell me a story about how great it was and how much better they felt and how much more they achieved and all this carry on while they were drinking. Well, didn't seem to make sense to me. But anyway, I could listen to those stories and then just go, it validates what I'm doing a bit more. And how come I'm continuing? Part of what I stuck with is that I didn't actually enjoy the alcohol anyway. It was the socializing and stuff that I enjoyed more. And even that was proven to be, but anyway, so that was something that back here that I'd already kind of identified as 0. And in a weird way, I adopted the 0 tolerance to my nutrition. I had a food problem as well. I was a lot heavier than I am today, and there's kind of only one way to do that, and that's from eating more than you move. And interestingly enough, I was able to use at that point, it took a lot. So I wasn't drinking alcohol anymore, but I was able to eat. And I was doing both back when I was younger, but, whatever. So the food thing, for me, was able to frame it up the similar way. But I didn't realize that I was framing it this way then. Yet I did know to a degree, but it was just hard. How's that? I was doing a similar style, but it was just fucking hard. I did the 0 system, and I used 0 on. So I go, well, which food group has 0 benefit for me? None. Like from a body and a physical and feelings. I never felt great after I'd eaten Kentucky Fried Chicken. I'd have felt all right if I only had the one piece. But that didn't happen, right? Oh, I worked out that once I'd started, I didn't stop. I open a packet of biscuits. There's no, it's almost that finish your plate mentality. I open the biscuits, they're all getting eaten in fucking fast. But anyway, and KFCs and Burger Kings and McDonald's and all those things were in the same bucket. And then fast food was always a topic that was quite known to probably not be smart. Eating takeaways was not a great way to live. So I went, okay, we'll do the 0 technique on that. It was 0 KFC. And I went through. and it re-changed. So rather than having whatever goes on, narrow it down. Let's narrow that down. So KFC, was that in the list? No. So 0. McDonald's, 0. Burger King, and I did that. All through those, got to 0. I'll tell you the truth, Chinese was still on the list. How's that? So it wasn't everything in the takeaways. So Chinese I left on the list at that point. I went, well, they got vegetables, there's meat, and some rice in there. Not the greatest thing on the planet to fucking stick with, but I went, no. If I can't handle all this stuff, and if the times, and I'm making a decision at this point, then a tray of Chinese, will be the benchmark of the 0. So I went, okay, there was that. It was left. Interesting. Subway was not a problem, I decided. And so there was two or three things left from this list, and I did the rest. And I went, here was the top one: chocolate, biscuits, lollies, ice cream. Ooh, ice cream. So I went through that, and I went, ice cream, 0. 0 tolerance for ice cream. 0 tolerance for cake. 0. It nutritionally serves no purpose. It's sweet and it tastes like, well, so does an apple. So 0. I went 0, 0, 0, 0, all down those. And that was the decision. That was the framework. And that was the mindset. And that emotionally hurt. And it fucking things. But when I was in that moment, I went to my daughter's wedding. And there was cake there. And I got, here's some cake. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sure, it's nice. Makes no difference whether I eat it or not. You could argue, well, does it have it to what? To please everybody else? I saw the cake, it looked cool. Got it. I guess maybe I go too far on that type of thing, but that's what happens to the mindset. In fact, it becomes a different discussion about the value system, I guess. Value the cake and eating the cake. Was that, So anyway, I don't want to go too far on that. So there we go. So there I had the system there. And that got me down. I'm about 90 kilos now from a fucking 120. What's that? 30 odd kilos. 30 something kilos of, let's be honest, most of it will be fat. It's not, yes, I was a big guy and I could lift things around and do whatever, but I'm pretty confident that if I was sitting here in that same state at 28 kilos, drinking alcohol and etc., I don't think that's a good picture. I'm pretty confident in myself that at 50 years old, sitting here like that, I think the picture would be a little different. Very confident of that, even with my ego. Because even at the time, I don't even think I needed to do much. I thought everything I was doing was fucking, I was the man, But back to that 0 tolerance thing, such a powerful tool for me anyway, and how to frame it and how to use it. That here I am at this point, and I go, well, let's pull it in again. Why is that not a framework for something that I continue to feed off and utilize? And I know every time I done these things, from the alcohol, from the food, nutrition, from finances, had the same. I had zero tolerance for finances. I did it through all my earnings. I earn okay money. I was earning okay money, but I was worth fuck all. I was worth about 40 grand 10 years ago. What was it? When I was 30, at the same time, when I was 32, how much was I worth when I was 32? 32, I probably had a net worth of $10,000. When I was 25, I had a net worth of zero, of minus. I got in trouble with taxes and my lifestyle. And so this is true, I owed $80,000, $90,000. So I was negative. I was in the negative when I was 28. I started pulling myself back a bit in that. From when I was 30, I started to pull myself out about 30. But when I was 32, I was probably worth 10,000, 20,000. That's 32. When I was 42, 10 years later, I was probably worth 100,000 net worth. That's me and my wife too, so that's combined. Probably had a net worth of 100,000, and I'm 42. Yep, I was renting in the house I have here. 42. Okay, here we go. Lost a lot of weight from down. I had change in job 8 years ago, so I'm 51. So about 45. So around 42, I'm worth about 100 and something thousand, maybe 140,000. So I was keeping numbers, and I was building on that. So it took me a lot to get, if you rewind it, from 30, from zero to get myself up to 140 grand over those 7 or 8 years, without the greatest framework. And a lot of it was, the weight loss and reducing alcohol. Because while I was doing all that, they all had financial impacts. Keeping myself at 130 kilos had a lot of financial impacts. Binge drinking and drinking a lot during those weeks cost money. It costs money to do those things. It costs money to be overweight. I think maybe it doesn't cost too much for some, but it costs money to drink. It costs money to socialize that way. It wasn't cheap. So everything I earned, was justified in the cycle of what I was doing that week. Get it, get rid of it. Get it, who cares? If you got more, it was just more in the system, right? So there we go. So what? Do I carry on with the speech? So we're 42, worth 100 probably 120 grand. No, it was 42. Another 3 or 4 years go by, probably worth about 130 grand, 140 grand, and then, which was 7 years ago, I got a good opportunity. A good opportunity came because while that was going on with all those other things, I upped my skill sets. Because instead of doing all those other dumb shit, without even me thinking this, I started being more progressive minded at work. It helped that I enjoyed the work, but I started utilizing the software and the tools that were valuable to the company. And so then I became more valuable. And so I absorbed and I learned those things. Instead of doing these things so much, I then, interesting enough, fell into doing these. And then I progressed at it, not even knowing that it would be worth anything. I just increased my value without realizing it. And then that was at least 2 or 3 years where I increased my value. Some of it was the business got the software. They wanted someone to fucking utilize it within the business. And I was keen. But yeah, we can use that, we can use that, we can use that. We bought 3 or 4 bits. And it changed over everything. Others were resistant. I got into it amongst 4 or 5 things. So I really enjoyed that process. Gave me some sort of, it was like a game. Gave me something to kind of enjoy. Without realizing it, I started growing, started learning how to do that. I became the valuable one, which weirdly enough was what I enjoyed doing. So then I didn't realize what my value had quadrupled within the business. But yet my pay wasn't reflecting that. So, and I carried on. And then what happened? A job over here came up and it had that number next to it. And it's the same thing I'm doing. It's interesting. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. So I wasn't even looking for that type of shit, right or wrong, because that's all I knew. So then I applied for that. And I went from that sort of pay to that sort of pay overnight. And it was quite difficult for me for some reason. A true story is not just that happened. The place I was at offered me the same. I went, holy hell, that's interesting. And so my self-awareness was not good. Yet it was a lot better than it was. So yeah, right or wrong, those are transitions that have happened over that time frame and contributed to, so without being, those changes I made contributed to getting myself online here with the career path of those skills and skill sets with the potential I had. It allowed me to do those things and focus, and instead of the stuff that was not going anywhere, put me in that position to now do that. And that was 7 years ago. So it was 7 years ago that happened. And so in the 7 years, what was really good, because I had the right mindset and because I had this framework that had already transitioned and gone, I applied it to my income, took responsibility for it, understood it, viewed the numbers, and I went, well, because I was already doing this much money and living on this much, which gave us this much, which was growing at that rate. Well, I went, well, now we're earning that much. So we're earning that much today. I still only need that much to live. That didn't change. What did I need? Because the reality was I was comfortable. I enjoyed my life already. I didn't hate my life. I enjoyed my life. I loved my life. Because realize when you've gotten rid of certain things in your life that weren't contributing to it, weirdly, I really enjoyed everything I was doing already. So when that went like that, I went, let's spend the same amount that we're spending now, because I've got everything I wanted. And let's change that net worth number. I started thinking about finances in the future and stuff. I go, well, let's just save it all. Keep it. Use it. Think about it. Invest it. fucking buy shit. Fuck all. So sweet. So what happened was I started monitoring it. And so we went from, what did I say? 100. See, I know my numbers. I was worth 120,000. We went in 3 years, we were worth in excess of 300,000. Then, so that's halfway through. We then bought this place, interestingly enough, and we're now worth. I'm just podcasting. It's all right. I'm just on podcasting. Yeah. So we then went from 300,000 to 3 years later, we're now worth 1.4 million. And those were in the same framework as what I started reviewing and isolating today. So I think I see this to myself. Well, those are cool things. And so zero tolerance for me and my wife. She's part of my team, big part of my team, and my children and everybody I talk to. When I share my story, that zero tolerance seems to kind of click in. It's not for everybody. I get that it sounds like a lot. And maybe that's part of the journey, because I do understand that being told this, I'd be going, yeah, you're a fucking weirdo. And even if your results or whatever, you go, no, I can do it this way. Right? And I do the same. So most of this is just me sharing how, or the way I've come to think about where I am now and how it comes to. And then what's interesting, so that's the pillars I talk about, even with relationships. I can do one more speech of the zero tolerance. Was I couldn't tolerate. See, part of all that things, I wouldn't talk to my family or talk to my kids or talk to certain people. And if I did, it was negative. It was judgmental. It was opinionated. It had all sorts of what would I call it? Negative connotations to it. Because that's what I felt like. That's a fact. And it's my fault. It's how I was feeling, and so it was easier for me to. It's easier for me to mock other people. It's easier for me to punch than take a punch. Punching was okay, but taking a punch, I was smoking mirrors. I didn't take a punch too well, and if I took a punch, I fucking had to punch back another 5-6 times. And I was good at looking like I took the punch okay. I was good at talking through taking the hit, because I wasn't too bad at out talking someone, but it really was out talking myself. I was out talking myself, in these verbal battles when I was skin deep. So now my relationships are at this level too. Interestingly enough, I can talk to anybody I know and be a lot more progressive and open and empathetic, if you like, and more engaged and connected, I guess. So those are all positive things, right? From the thing. So now I'm going, well, look, I've got to really, really put that into another level. For me to go to another level, in my opinion, it makes sense that I double down on the zero tolerances. So I'm utilizing that. I just wanted to share that as a frame and as a way that I am able to shift my mindset, which I'm framing this now because the future self of me will watch this in a few years, potentially, probably, and will go, oh yeah. And I can say, because I've framed it in my and I've woven it into my days as a zero tolerance. So as an example, right now my zero tolerance is that I go to bed before 10 p.m. So 9:30. Zero. I have zero tolerance for that. I have zero tolerance to getting up at 5. So it flows on. So getting up to 5, well, I've had enough sleep. If I don't have enough sleep, then that needs to be worked out. And then that will be worked out. But I can still get up. So I get up, and then my energy goes into my next zero. So I've got this on an automated thing that I do every day. So let's run through quickly. So I've got the sleep, the waking up. And then there's a factor of appreciating my environment. So when I get up, I appreciate my environment. So the place I'm in, who I'm with. So I take a few moments to go through that every day. There's no tolerance for that, right? And that sends in some positive spins, and it allows me to see and breathe and understand my environment from a positive perspective. And it's enjoyable. It's not like just race off and go. I go, man, this is cool. This is great. I'm great. This is my wife's awesome. My kids are fantastic. That type of appreciate my environment, appreciate my surroundings, from a visual to a picture to a thing, even to my parents. I think about my parents. It's nothing but positive thoughts, and they're true. These are true thoughts, And then, so I have zero tolerance for that to not happen. I will review my goals. I have stuff and these are changing all the time. So goals that I have, that I've committed to, that I have accountability for, that I'm responsible for. If they're not, then they're not on the list, right? So those are stuff that I will, in sayings, I will recite just for a moment. This isn't hours. This is quite zero tolerance for, that I don't have that. And then exercise. And I put a time to that, from there to there, which needs to be met. So, because the zero tolerance just helps me center myself and go, oh no, that's important. All these can be changed, but they were changed the day before. They're not changed at the time. They're only changed because of, but they're part of the process. So zero tolerance for that. I then have, I do some journaling. It's quite a simple journal. It's just my day. My thoughts, where I'm at, what I'm doing. So I have zero tolerance to not journaling the day, stuff that I've thought about. A lot of times it's from the morning to then, even through the exercising. Exercising to liberate my head. Some thoughts come to my mind, so I'm able to capture them, or just I apply that to how the rest of my day is going to go, what my feelings are. So I have that. I then have a structure for my career is I have some most important tasks that I have planned for today, and they have already been pre-planned yesterday or the night before. So really the night before I have zero tolerance on not planning my day forward. So I kind of started there, which is the list of stuff that's going to happen. So these most important tasks, and I sort about working through those and pushing those along and getting them to a kind of like a focus point. So the most important tasks. And as an example, I can have most important task may be that me and my wife are going to lunch today. I have zero tolerance for that because that's happening. I've made a commitment to go, and that's what we're doing. If she changes anything, that's separate. Okay, it's rescheduled and things. But for me, I'm committed to doing that because it's on me. That's the type of attitude I have. And then I've got a senior management meeting at 11 o'clock. Well, I'm going to that. I did that and that. Well, that's happening. There's some work I've got to do prior to that. Well, you knew that's happening, so whatever it takes for you, it's an hour before, which won't mean something else has to. Well, that's part of my responsibility. It's part of how I be efficient. Something might pop onto my plate, or then these get shuffled around, or this thing that popped on my plate, you have to work it to be, is it urgent? Is it important? How urgent is important? Do a graph on it. Can it be moved over here? Or can I tell them that it needs to be done another day? Or no, there's times where no, it can't be. Then these things didn't say they don't happen. They get shifted a bit. So that's the challenge of the exercise, right? So we have most important tasks. I have my nutrition, eating after 4. I fast. Seems to have real mental and system for me. So eating after 4 o'clock every day is the system. So zero tolerance for that. I update my decision journal. The decisions journals I've got going on. There's some work and movements to do that, moving parts in that, of whatever the structures are around that. So that gets done. And then what I could have started with, but it's part of my thing, is that I prepare for tomorrow. So those I have no tolerance for. I have no tolerance, zero tolerance for not preparing for tomorrow. So at some point I had to do some thinking, some working through of tomorrow. And then within that, I have whatever else I want to do. I have fun. I do different things. But that's the list right now. That's today. A kind of a list of how my daily structure looks like. And I'm excited to see what I can work through to get that done. So part of what I've noticed while I'm doing this, I'm thinking that, is that my parents, they've been away for quite a bit, is that on my zero tolerances list is for me to go see them. That I will not tolerate. And that's what I love about that, is that it's not just, oh yeah, I'll get to it. Oh, they're all right, I'll go see them. And then some of it will have that. But I don't have, it's a proactive mindset that I'm going to go see them. And it's scheduled in. And because I know I do all the other things, don't get me wrong, some of these things, because the people involved need to have flexibility around them. But they're only flexible because of them. I'm not flexible on going to see them. right? Because one of the theories I have, if we're both flexible on whether we see each other, then the time, then it could be 10 years. You know, if we think a birthday fucking text is connection, I disagree. But if I have a mindset of it, I have no tolerance for not speaking to my parents or my children or something. Don't get me wrong, these timelines and these, it's like the tides in and out because of certain movements of them. But I can still share. I've got plenty of ways digitally. My kids probably get annoyed with me, but I get stuff I can share with them that is from me to them. And I can keep doing that. And my parents, they like to keep themselves and I will see you when you see. I make a point that I'm going to go see them. And that's what I can do. That's my mindset. I have zero tolerance for me. If my brother's one too, he's on my list. I have zero tolerance to not going to see him. If he's not there or he doesn't communicate, that's on him. Well, that's cool. I'm the one who wants to see you. And I'm the one that's taking the time out. You don't owe me anything for the time I took out. Because weirdly enough, I'm the one who benefits from it. I can make myself feel bad. I can go, oh well, shit, I did this, I drove up there, I went and saw my brother, and then he wasn't even there, and he doesn't, and he said he'd be there, and he's not there. That's true. And I've had those thoughts. I have them all the time. I'm not devoid of those thoughts. But what the zero tolerance does for me is I go, well, that's whose choice is this? What can you do? What can I do? I can go there again. I can text again. He ignored my texts. Okay. Send a text telling him what you did today. I have to send him a text saying, why haven't you fucking rung me back? How about sending a text saying, hey, I went to such and such this week. Saw fucking X, Y, Z. Okay. You know, everyone's journey is different. Everyone's doing their own things. Just because my values and I think we're missing out and we're not. Okay. Now what? What does that prove? You know, it's hard. It's hard because, you know, you feel rejected. You feel like you're just beating your head against a wall. But I don't. I go, you know, it's part of the resilience, part of the self-talk of positive talk is going, I'm satisfied that I went and saw him. I'm satisfied that I put my best foot forward. It's not just showing up to him being all, when you finally see him, you're all angry. Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad you came. You know? So I'm genuinely happier and feel better when I see my brother. I actually am. I am genuinely happy when I see him. So it's worth it. I'm genuinely happy when I see my kids. I know that for a fact. And I'm the same with my brother. I'm the same with my mum and dad. Now, don't get me wrong, they're a pain in the ass. And there's lots of thoughts that go through my mind of going, for fuck's sakes. Got it. But like exercise. I know when I've done it, I feel fucking great. when I sit with my brother and we talk rubbish, I feel great. I do. Sometimes I don't, but even when the conversations aren't the greatest, it's still better. How's that? So yeah, that's how my system's kind of going now. So I'll I think I might end it there. I think hold on. Did I get enough overview? Yeah, I think so. Went a bit sidetracked for a lot of those bits and pieces, but haven't done one for a while, so it's kind of understandable, I think. I probably shared a little bit much on certain areas, but hey, who cares, right? This is bigSHow, the God.